Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something literally all of us experience. We're decoding a massive, totally invisible shift that's happening right now, right inside our own heads. We're talking about how social media is quietly rewiring our brains.
Seriously, ask yourself, what if the single most powerful force shaping your thoughts, your focus, your mood, and even your memory is just that thing you unlock and open every single day? And you probably do it without even thinking. We're not talking about a new pill, a microchip, or some secret lab experiment here. No, it's just a normal, everyday, daily habit that is slowly, quietly rewriting our reality and the very way our minds process the world.
Okay, let's dive right into this with section 1, the invisible brain shift. You know, social media actually started out as this absolute miracle of connection. It promised to bridge oceans, reunite families, give ordinary people a global voice. And in many ways, it really did do all that. But, well, this powerful technology came with a hidden biological cost that kind of sneaks up on us. Basically, a little more checking, a little less patience. Our human brains simply weren't built for an age of endless interruption. Historically, our attention was tied to our physical environment, right? Looking for danger, looking for food, with these long stretches of quiet in between. But this new digital environment, it continuously demands our attention. It feeds us novelty at a scale we were never designed to handle, and it does it without ever fully satisfying that primal urge to know more. Which brings us to section 2, rewiring attention and rewards.
I want you to think of your attention as a muscle, but it's also a habit. The more you train that muscle to jump from thing to thing every few seconds, the more restless it gets. This active training makes sustained focus on long books or just sitting in quiet moments feel painfully slow and uncomfortable. And that muscle is being actively trained by what we call variable rewards. It's unpredictable digital feedback. You don't know when the next like will drop. You have no idea when that next viral video will pop up. That uncertainty, it keeps your brain intensely checking for the next tiny hit of validation. It's the exact same biological urge that makes gambling so hard to resist.
And it creates this incredibly powerful habit loop. Step 1, check. Step 2, reward. Step 3, check again. Quick, fast, rhythmic. Check, reward, check again. Maybe you get another reward this time. Maybe you don't. That uncertainty is the glue. It's why we experience what we call slipping. You aren't consciously deciding to stay on the app. You're just caught in a sticky platform design, accidentally losing huge chunks of time because the system is constantly rewarding your urge to not stop scrolling. And then suddenly, boom, 40 minutes just vanish. Or maybe an hour. You opened your phone for a split second, and you lost almost an hour. Look, your brain is just following a repetition-trained habit. It's not making a conscious choice. This isn't a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that the platforms are incredibly well-engineered to reduce friction and keep your eyes locked on the screen. So what actually happens to all that information we consume during those lost minutes? Well, we develop what's called a fire hose memory. We see way more, but we remember way less clearly. Because we consume these tiny fragments so rapidly, a joke, a tragedy, a birthday, a news headline, we suffer from this sort of memory inflation. We feel highly informed because of the sheer volume we've seen, but we actually retain very little depth or context. We're literally drinking from a fire hose and trying to taste the water. Let's transition over to section 3, identity in the comparison market. Human beings comparing themselves to others, yeah, that's not new at all. What is new is that social media has turned human comparison into a 24/7 global marketplace. It pits your ordinary life against curated highlights. When you're scrolling, your brain legitimately struggles to remember that it's comparing your everyday, sometimes messy, mundane life against someone else's heavily edited, cropped, and filtered highlight reel. We end up turning other people's curated public brands into our own private, totally impossible standards of success and beauty. And what's deeply impactful here is how this affects developing minds. A like feels exactly like love. Exclusion feels world-endingly devastating. The self literally becomes a brand. You've got teenagers whose identities are still fragile and forming, growing up constantly observing what gets rewarded by the metrics. So they start shaping their personalities around those signals, optimizing their very identity for attention rather than genuine connection. This brings us right to section 4, outrage, empathy, and exhaustion. As our identities get tied to the feed, so do our emotions. And biologically speaking, the brain notices threats way faster than it notices nuance. Platforms exploit this ancient wiring by rewarding intense, polarizing emotions. We end up facing a constant internal battle, asking,
Is this actually true versus does this make me feel something instantly? Because algorithms reward engagement and strong emotion drives engagement, complex issues get completely flattened. This dynamic escalates conflicts into massive echo chambers, replacing deep political or social reflection with instant, emotionally charged reactions that just divide us. The inevitable result of all that constant emotional spiking is moral fatigue. The heart is simply processing more than it can carry. When we are endlessly exposed to global tragedies, scrolling from a crisis to a meme in a millisecond, real people get reduced to mere symbols. The overwhelmed brain has to protect itself from the sensory overload, and it does so by becoming numb. We care, but we just keep scrolling.
Boredom is the soil where original thought grows. Notice that silence? Feels a little weird, right? A little uncomfortable now. By filling every single empty moment, waiting in a line, lying in bed, with digital stimulation, we are completely eliminating boredom. But eliminating boredom stifles our creativity, our problem solving, and our capacity for deep original thinking. We are totally saturated with other people's ideas while our own struggle to surface.
Moving right along to Section 5, the algorithm's reality tunnel. It is incredibly important to remember here that algorithms are not cartoon villains sitting in a lair trying to ruin our lives. They're just coldly efficient mirrors, serving us familiar, or maybe slightly more extreme, versions of exactly what we engage with. So the crucial point is recognizing the digital symptoms, picking up your phone without meaning to, feeling uncomfortable in silence, struggling with long tasks, or feeling exhausted after supposedly resting online. If you experience these, understand they aren't moral failures on your part. They are active signals of neuroplasticity. Your brain is simply adapting and learning to survive in the digital environment you've placed it in. Which brings us to our final part. Section 6, reclaiming your own mind. Here's the truly empowering part. Because the brain is so incredibly adaptable and plastic, we can use intentionality to reverse these exact effects. We are not trapped. We just need to build boundaries to recover our focus and presence. You can create intentional distance by putting the phone down for longer periods, read long-form content, actually allow boredom to exist for a few minutes. And please protect your sleep. It is absolutely vital for memory and emotional control. The brain is not doomed by technology. By implementing these steps, you can train your brain right back toward learning, empathy, and meaningful connection.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to end our explainer today. Are we using social media, or is it quietly using us? Are we actually in control of our own attention, our emotions, and our identities? If diving into this source material today made you think differently about your own habits, I invite you to take a second right now to engage. Leave a comment with what you noticed most about your own scrolling habits, and make sure to subscribe for more deep explorations. Because the next great battle for our minds is happening right now, one scroll at a time. Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.